library. Let's get to agenda item number 1, call to order and roll call. I'm Elaine Clayton, a newly elected board member.
Tom Strezak.
Melina Raylick.
Bob Hannes.
Lisa Chandler.
And Bill Whittington, a district council, is present telephonically. And we get to the, got that. I'm just switching slides. So, agenda item 2 is discussion and possible action regarding governing board officer appointments, and that would be between myself, Melina, and Tom. And the 3 positions we will be voting on today are board chair, board secretary, and board treasurer. Our oaths of office were submitted to and have been recorded by Yavapai County, and our oaths and open meeting law training certificates are on file in the district office. So, Bill, I would imagine that now would be the time that one of the board members that we talked about who's going to take what position. Bill?
You can debate it amongst yourselves, and eventually someone needs to make a motion to appoint somebody as board chair, as an example. Someone would second that, and you can discuss it and vote on it. Then you
Perfect.
move to the secretary position.
So I motion to appoint Elaine chair of the board.
I'll second it.
All in favor of Elaine Clayton being appointed as board chair, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so unanimous vote that Elaine is appointed as board chair. And I would like to appoint Tom Strezak as the board secretary.
I'll second.
All in favor of appointing Tom as board secretary, say aye.
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 Unanimously approved, and the board has selected Tom Strezak as board secretary. And next would be board treasurer.
So I'd like to motion that we appoint Melina as board treasurer of Black Canyon Water City Improvement District.
I second the motion that Melina Raylick be appointed as board treasurer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously approved that Melina is the new board treasurer. And agenda item number 3, we want to thank the outgoing board members, Dave Moore, Dorothy Moore, Alice, aka Chrissy Matheson. We thank them for their service and the commitment that they made to the district, and wish them the best of luck in all their future adventures. Agenda item 4, meeting dates and times. I think we are going to leave the meeting dates the same, but how do you guys feel about extending the meeting times by half an hour to give more time for public comment? And we have a lot of agenda items. We're going to have a lot to cover.
Absolutely.
You think?
I have wanted that for some time, and as well as some owner users have wanted that too.
Melina,
Yes, I agree.
you agree? Would someone like to make a motion that we extend the meeting times by 30 minutes?
I'll make a motion to extend the meeting times by 30 minutes.
I second.
So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the meeting dates will remain the same, that being the last Tuesday of the month. And instead of the meetings being held from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., they will now be from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And moving on to the next agenda item.
Point of clarification.
Yes.
I believe they were the 4th Tuesday of the
I'm
month.
so sorry, 4th.
Not the last.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes there's 4.33 weeks in a month.
Right. It's the 4th Tuesday.
Thank you for pointing that out. He understands the California time difference and how many weeks. Okay, thank you, Bob. So agenda item number 5. discussion and possible action regarding designation of signers for the BMO account. So the discussion is that on 12/31, there were 3 signers, and Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. So Dave Moore, Dorothy Moore, and Allison Matheson were removed from the BMO accounts. Is that correct? Was Randy Rabina?
Randy Rabina, I think, was removed at the day that he resigned on the last meeting. I think that meeting was on the meeting minutes for December 17th.
Okay,
If I'm not-
perfect.
Yeah.
So those 3 were removed. And then beginning on 1/1/2025, I have a wrong date there, myself, Tom Stresak, and Melina went to the bank and we were added as signers. So that was a discussion. Is there anything, we don't need to vote on anything, do we?
Yes, you do. You need to authorize those people as signers by formal vote. Thank you. Motion, second, vote.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that Tom Stresak, Melina Rayleck, and Elaine Clayton be added to the BMO account as signers.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous, so it is approved that Elaine Clayton, Tom Stresak, and Melina Rayleck be added as signers. Is that all we need to do, Bill?
Say it again.
Is that all the action we need to take on that agenda item? Hello?
Yeah. All you need is a motion, a second, and a vote to name those 3 people as signatories.
Okay, so we completed that agenda item. So, agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding the new BMO Water Angel account. So, currently, and we're still discovering some information. We learn something new, or more than one thing, every day. And we believe that there's $450 remaining in the Water Angel account, and it's under a
QuickBooks account 313.
correct. So that money needs to be transferred into the Angel account because we thought that it would be best to have an account totally separate from any district monies so that we could be transparent and the public could be aware of what was in the account. Melina, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it should be a separate account. Absolutely.
And Tom, what are your thoughts?
I very much agree.
So I'd like to make a motion that all of the Water Angel donations be deposited into the new BMO Water Angel account, and that any funds that are on the district's books that belong in that account be transferred. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor of having a BMO account specifically for the Water Angel donation, say aye.
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 Vote passes unanimously, and we will begin using the Water Angel account with BMO. Agenda item 7, discussion and possible action regarding authorized signatures for Yavapai County accounts. On 12/31/24, Dave Moore, Dorothy Moore, and Alice Matheson were removed as signers. And on 1/1/25, Elaine Clayton, Tom Stresak, and Melina Rayleck were added as signers. And there are 5 accounts with Yavapai County, and we'll go over those at another time. But would someone like to make a motion that the 3 new board members be approved as signers?
I motion that Elaine Clayton, Melina Rayleck, and myself, Tom Stresak, be appointed as signers, check signers for the county.
And I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that is passed unanimously. So Elaine Clayton, Tom Strezak, and Melina Raylick are approved to be signers on the Yavapai County accounts. Agenda item 8, discussion and possible action regarding current status of the district's IT system, IT security, and accounting procedures. So, Lisa, would you like to share what the IT, what Theo with NAIT, his assessment of the current IT system that the district is using?
Yes, NAIT, Theo from NAIT came into the office and everyone was present. He looked over the computer and he did give us an assessment that would provide security for managed backup for the workstations, managed backup services for the iCloud, and managed backup service for the offsite cloud. He had recommended those things for the current computer systems that we have and did recommend an upgrade. So he went ahead and installed that on the current, he went ahead and just
He did install some protection because there was no IT security.
right
We were currently
without.
in a vulnerable situation. And it came about because we tried to contact QuickBooks and ask for some help on, there were some questions and needed some support on a problem or a question we had with QuickBooks. And they could not help us because the software was 2016 version. That was supposed to be a yearly subscription, but it hadn't been updated. So QuickBooks and Enhance, they have to work together, but our computers were so old and didn't have enough memory that those two software programs could not be integrated, which creates a lot of unnecessarily manual work for Lisa, and it prevents us from installing other software we need so that we can upgrade the district's software, and in turn it helps us become more efficient in our all of our tasks.
It also provides the backup that that was necessary.
Right, because currently they were using a thumb drive and just backing all of the information up on a thumb drive, and based on the skill that hackers and others have, we really did not want to rely solely on a thumb drive to back up all of the district's information. So Lisa did purchase, but there is, and we'll talk about that probably more at the next meeting, did purchase just the basic IT security package under $100, just so that we would have immediate security. And then there was a district computer kept at another board member's house, and we removed Theo removed the
Hard drive.
the hard drive.
From NAIT.
Theo from NAIT removed the hard drive, and so
Secured it in a safe.
that unit is going to just be put out of service.
He
leaving
secured
us,
it in a safe
correct, secured it in a
at
safe.
the business.
And so we're down to just one unit whose memory is full, and the computer is antiquated. So, Bill, we did order those 2 new computers, and should we just wait and address that purchase next week?
Not connected.
Okay, so just
Bill,
disconnect him and put him on the phone. So,
It's not on the agenda.
did he say no, we can't talk about it?
I'm sorry, Bill, we weren't able to hear you, and apparently the Bluetooth cut out or something. So.
Can we discuss purchasing 2 new computers? No.
Is it on the agenda for
No.
approval? We need to
Okay.
ratify the expenditure. So I'm looking at the agenda to see where it is.
Right, and we were going to discuss that next week.
All right, then put it on the agenda for next week to ratify those expenditures if you want.
Correct.
Next meeting.
So, heck, okay, I'm working my slides. So, we are working to, ensure that all of the district information is safe, that it's backed up in more than one place, that it's backed up securely, and, the earth could end, but our files would remain, alive and well. And we also need to make sure online bill pay is so important, and the majority of owner users are anxious to see that go in service in the district. And so in order to have online bill pay and make sure that information is protected, we also needed to have the right security to make sure that the owner user's credit information couldn't be stolen or something. So, a motion to,
Approve that.
we were,
At this point, you have just we just have the backups. So if you want to make a motion to approve it, since it's on the agenda,
okay. So, I would like to make a motion to approve the backup for the desktop
The cost?
with NAIT,
secure.
and the amount was $79.10. Need a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor of paying the $79.10,
Aye.
which is a monthly amount. It'll be $79.10 a month to maintain this level of security. Melina,
I second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, this is Bill.
Yes.
Is that item 14 on the agenda? Where are you at?
9. Number 9.
Uh-oh.
Eight.
I'm on 8.
Yes.
How does that relate to 14?
NAIT is 14. NAIT is the internet.
Twice.
Is that different than the contract you just authorized?
Let me look at 14.
So it's just on there twice, so I don't know how you were separating.
Right.
Okay, it was on there, it was on twice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
So we can,
Number 8 and number 14 are related.
Yes, they are.
remove.
Is this for
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, and thank you, Bob, for recognizing that.
So number 14 is for the contract that I sent to Bill, and number 8 is the actual.
They're related,
Right.
and so we just got 2 agenda items that should have been as one. So, moving forward.
So there is a contract for that one that I did send him. But
That's good, we're good.
Perfect.
So, agenda item number 8, this is actually continued. Enhance, and that is the billing system. So, Enhance is the billing software,
Utility,
meaning that the water bills come in, and it's paid through Enhance, and that is a software program that bills are generated from. And QuickBooks is the
Accounting software.
accounting software, but they are distinctly related, and they have to work with each other. So Enhance,
Madam Chair,
yes,
can I interrupt you for a moment?
yeah, absolutely.
I gather you're still on item 8. How does that relate to item 12? enhance is mentioned on 12 as well. I just wanted to know the relationship between those two agenda items.
Those two should have been one as well.
So all of those are in number 8.
Yes, all of what we're discussing now is a combination of the two. Is that correct?
If you're now discussing bill pay, or you could go 8 to discuss bill pay. Something different.
You're already on 8, I believe, aren't you?
Yes, we are. I believe 2 agenda items were combined into one because accounting is on there, and I didn't want to include accounting. Well, I could have made an error. I viewed accounting as a separate agenda discussion, although it is a part of the IT. So that could have been my misjudgment there.
It's legal if you want to address both number 8, or a portion of 8, and number 12 together. That's perfectly okay as long as you make it clear on the record. That's
Okay.
what you're doing.
Okay, and we're recording this, so that will be noted. We're recording the audio, and we're doing a video as well. So a part of 8 and 12 would be, we addressed IT security with NAIT. I did comment on Enhance, which is the system billing that generates water bills, and the former board paid that, and that is $7,000 annually. And so now we can go to agenda item 9. I'm sorry. Although we need to vote, I believe, on QuickBooks because we did update the version of QuickBooks from 2016 to 2025.
Correct.
And the amount,
When was that update done, Madam Chair?
that update was done when, Lisa,
I gave you the
okay,
uh,
let me see if I,
information. So it was probably done within the last 3 days. It has not been uploaded to the system because because there's not enough backup on that computer.
so this was supposed to be a yearly subscription. It was not, it was not upgraded since 2016, and the amount of the upgrade was $14.81, which is less than the $1,500 that per the district policies and procedures, we can spend up to $1,500 without voting.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think you're talking about the current software system, which is
QuickBooks Enterprise.
QuickBooks,
QuickBooks.
right.
Are you telling me that someone recently spent some money to upgrade that software?
Spent money to what?
To upgrade it. Did you purchase?
Upgrade
Yes,
the software?
yes. We had a 2016 version, and QuickBooks could not offer any support or assistance when we had an issue with QuickBooks because the software was so outdated. So it essentially stalled us being able to use QuickBooks because the version was old, and we worked through that because the current system doesn't have, the current computer doesn't have enough memory to allow for that upgrade. So,
Was that recently spent then?
yes, it was spent on like January 3rd.
Okay, I'd recommend that you place that on the next agenda for ratification as well then. I assume you're doing this under item 8 on the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
There's no mention about upgrading your software. As close as you get is accounting procedures. Maybe that qualifies, maybe not. So I'd recommend that you place it on next agenda for ratification, that particular expenditure.
we'll make a note of that. So I sent an email to Jean asking if the amount spent by the board is $1,500 or less, it says that we can do that without voting. That was my understanding of that policy. And was that incorrect?
No, we just received that little note just before the meeting started.
Oh, okay.
So I've not had a chance to evaluate that. I didn't see it.
Okay.
And I need to take a look at your policy.
I know.
Right here for that question. And so I think that ought to be placed on the next agenda. That'll give us time to look at the policy and answer your question.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Okay, agenda item 9. This is the really fun one. Discussion and possible action regarding district infrastructure.
No.
So the really important thing that we need to remember is that in 2024, there was a rate increase of $7. $6 of that was to support an increase in the cost for operations management, Bob, on his, and only $1 went into the capital improvement fund. So if you think about we're increasing the capital improvement fund by $1, how much work do we think is going to be accomplished with an additional, how much money would that be, Bob, for the?
874.
Right, so adding $874 as an increase to maintaining our infrastructure is nothing. It wouldn't cover a valve, probably. So the water rates do not align with the cost of the repairs and upgrades that the district needs just to remain operational. And I spelled this wrong. A really important part of addressing the infrastructure is obtaining a preliminary engineer's report. And so this slide shows that we're digging a hole. We're digging a really deep hole that we need to get out of because the money coming in from water revenues and other resources is not enough to just make the basic upgrades that we need. And so the increase in costs exceeds the revenue, and we are definitely out of balance. And all of us, Bob took us on a tour, all of us, of the district, so that we could walk and see all that he's talking about firsthand. So Bob, you want to go ahead and would you like to explain some of the needs of the infrastructure?
Yes. So as we did this tour, there's components at every site, meaning the 3 well sites and the 5 booster pump stations, the tanks that have deficiencies. The first one is the arsenic. The most important one is the arsenic treatment system. Without that, we will exceed the EPA's maximum contamination level for arsenic. If that happens, we cannot provide water. These tanks are at the end of their life expectancy. They have a 20-year life expectancy without any chemicals being added to them, and we do put chlorine in there, so chlorine will speed up the degradation process of fiberglass. So we're living on a little bit of borrowed time if we're not already there. So that would be one of the important things, and we have 3 of those, 1 at each well site. Then we go to the electrical, and we've run into electrical issues over the last couple of years. We've had a red tag at GOA because the panel was old and started arcing. We needed to upgrade that system. There are other electrical issues at the other well sites and the booster pump stations. We have 1 booster pump station that has 2 pumps, so we have redundancy. If one fails, we have one that we can start up, but it doesn't come on automatically. We have to disconnect the power leads and put it into the other contactor because there's not enough power to run both of the pumps. So they just hooked up one at a time. So there's little things like that. We still have some of the old transite lines that we still need to deal with. There's galvanized main lines that are an issue. We have water meters that are 20 years old, which is double the life expectancy of a water meter. And they have some of them have over 3 million gallons read through them. When you get to 1 million on a residential meter, typically you replace it and you start over. So that's kind of a brief overview of where we're at.
We're beyond the point of just being able to repair things.
Yes.
Because things are in such a condition that they need to be replaced. In some areas, we're having a difficult time just repairing lines and keeping the equipment repaired because it's just, it needs to be updated.
And finding them.
Yeah, locating the lines is another issue. And so as operators, we're here to operate and kind of manage the system. Currently, we're more just repair people. We're triage. And that's just not a healthy way to run a utility and have reliable water for the customers.
Melina, what were your thoughts as we went on the tour of the system? Tactfully.
Well, I thought it was sad. The equipment was old, falling apart, bungees, duct tape, baling wire. It needs replacing. It needs new equipment.
I'm not sure we realized exactly how much equipment there was and how much work there was to be done. Tom, what were your thoughts on what are some points that you'd like to make?
Basically, the system is in a state of disrepair, and it's apparently been neglected for a long time. And the arsenic needs to be addressed, and I hope we can get to that soon. We have how much, do you think, Bob, of the transit pipe, which actually contains asbestos, right?
Yes.
And how much, there's 8,000 feet on one project we're looking at, possibly.
Yeah, I don't have a good number off.
But there's a lot.
Yeah,
right?
let me see if I can pull up a spreadsheet before this meeting's over.
Thanks.
But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. You hear a lot of doom and gloom, but one positive note, we just got a letter from ADQ that we've been in compliance for 3 years. So we're still able to provide safe drinking water for the community. But we are right up against, there's things that need to happen.
And
We need to address it now and not just, we need to figure out what we need to do now and also plan for the future because the district is growing and we need to be able to accommodate that growth.
Right.
And we're on the border with the arsenic.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's sad, but the unfortunate part, I guess, the unfortunate part of the aquifer that we're in, our nitrate raw coming in from the groundwater runs at 11.4. We only need to get down to 10. But to get down to 10, we have to treat all of the water. And that costs a lot of money. We're looking at probably $1.2 million to something roughly in there to replace the 3 arsenic systems. So it costs a lot of money for the district just to lower that 1.4 points.
And which type of arsenic? Because there's 2 different kinds, I understand. There's like a type 3 and a type 5. And one of those types is easier to deal with.
And to be honest, I do not know.
Okay.
Because the report just comes in as total arsenic.
Yeah,
And so I
I
haven't really looked at it.
That was just something I learned in researching the arsenic because that's become really concerning.
Right.
And so that you mentioned the chlorination, so that actually shortens the life less than 20 years. That's estimated.
Yes.
So what do you think? What would you kind of estimate?
I don't know. I've called a couple of vendors and I've done some research on degradation of fiberglass, and nobody will give you a number.
Right.
They just go, it lessens.
But we're on borrowed time.
But we're on, yeah.
I mean,
The systems they're 20 years old.
Right, and then the media replacement. Looking at the district website, it's 20 months, I believe, for the media.
Roughly, yeah.
So how do we look on media and media replacement?
So we replaced Big John? No. GOA. We replaced GOA last year. And so we're kind of on
12 months? Okay.
Yeah, and I would probably 9 months. It was less than a year.
Maybe 9 on
Yeah,
GOA.
yeah. And so what we do is, so Arsenic has a limit of 10, and it's a
Right.
rolling 4-quarter limit of 10.
Right, parts per billion.
Yes. And so what we do is we bring it up to about 10, and then that's when we change out the media. And so we might get a little more life out of it.
Right.
So we don't necessarily just, it's every
It's
20
not
months.
just going to jump way
Yeah.
up all
Right.
overnight.
Yep.
So it's generally, that's a fairly safe way to operate.
Right. And then, depending on where you're at in the system, the water is going to get somewhat blended because we have 3 well sites. So just
Right.
because one is up at 10, the other 2 might be at a 5 and a 2,
Yeah.
and that water is mixing to some degree. Now we don't have a blending tank, and it's not completely being mixed.
Yeah,
but it
I
is
do
getting-
understand that's an option
Yeah.
for sometimes when that gets to be a problem.
Right.
That blending is actually an option
Right.
to, carry forward.
Right.
Does it look like we could do that?
It costs a lot of money for us to blend because we'd have to have a
Rerouting?
centralized. Yep, you have to repipe all the wells into a central location, and then it would go out from there.
Right.
So, but just the nature of the way the system is, there's loops. Water from the Big John area can make it over, towards Wagon Wheel, and some of the water does get blended just naturally in the pipe because just the flow and
Right.
the cycles of one pump is on versus the other one.
Right. And the testing for this, does it go from different, locations for the testing?
So we test the 3 well sites. So it's an entry point to distribution system is what they call it. So
Right.
that means where it enters the distribution system, the pipelines, basically service
Pre-treatment?
line. No, post.
Okay.
After
Right
treatment.
after, right after, okay.
Yep, we sample there, and that's quarterly for each site.
Ah, okay.
And so that is one of those numbers in the table, the arsenic table that I put together. It'll state what our current level is.
And I know that the piping system itself, some of it's 50 to 70 years old, and on the Ironwood Palo Verde project, I would say it went about $20,000 over because we didn't know where the lines were until one was hit, and the water was gushing out, and then, oh, there it is. And so the additional cost of just doing a project is significant because we can't locate the pipe. So, Bill, I'll trust you to make sure we don't get into a topic we shouldn't. So, an engineering report is really something that we should consider. Could you talk about what an engineering report provides?
So an engineering report looks at all of your infrastructure in the system. They'll look at the electrical components, the pumps, the storage, the capacity, distribution. If we have any low pressure areas, they'll look at the distribution lines to go, okay, can those be upsized? Should we put a booster pump in, or is it better just to put in bigger lines? And they can kind of guide you on kind of future development and even what monies need to be put into the capital to keep the system going. And they'll look at all aspects, from. the
So
storage.
that would be very helpful. Will they provide maps or locations of the line and how the lines know if they don't do
No,
that?
they don't do that. No.
Okay, we'll have some other discussion on that next week, but it sounds like the PER would would be very helpful. Do you have any thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, yeah, because it helps us to know what the major priorities are. And I also understand it is helpful towards trying to get grants and loans. It's, helpful in that area. And just, it gives us a better look at our system. It helps us know better what we're really dealing with, what we have. There's so much of it that we can't see. That Bob took us on a tour and he showed us, everything we could see and explain things for us. And it's a lot to take in, all on, one quick little tour. But there's so much that we can't see as well. So if my understanding of how they do these reports is that they actually look at a history of the system. And Bob knows a lot about the history of where there's a lot of leaks and things. And so where, there's areas in the system that are, in need of repair sooner than other areas of the system. I mean, prioritizing things like that. But it seems really critical, actually, to have that report. It's almost like understanding the financial health of the district. Now, we're not going into that subject right now, but it's important like that.
Exactly, yeah.
That's,
So it would help us determine how much it's going to cost to update and upgrade, because we would know exactly what it is that we need to repair or replace. It puts things into a sharper focus. It would help us prioritize projects. Where do we need to begin? Right now, I feel like it would be, if we didn't have that or additional information, we could go outside, throw a dart, and begin there, because we just don't know where the most essential needs are. Anybody else have anything to add on the condition of the infrastructure? So that goes into RCAC, which is agenda item 10, and I'd like to first describe who they are. RCAC.org is Rural Community Assistance Corporation, and please go to their website because they have so much to offer. Their assistance is provided at no cost to the district, and they have an office in Tucson, as well as, I've been speaking with Ramon Lazaro, whose position is in California. No, New Mexico. I don't remember where. Anyhow, they would help us develop an asset management plan and mapping, and they can digitize the maps, because right now, I think we have maybe some of the system drawn out on a napkin or paper towel, but we don't have any real maps, and they're, that causes a problem. They would do a revenue analysis and rate study, and what that does, they're going to say, your water rates need to increase this much every year over the next 5 years to keep up with the cost of maintaining the district. And so that's really helpful. It means that we could schedule rate increases and know what they need to be. We would have a dollar amount as to how much it's going to cost to bring the district in maybe some areas up to compliance, and other areas just functional and not in required. They don't require. It's more than a Band-Aid fix. And they help with. They provide assistance with funding, applications, and strategies. And I'm going to open the just part of the document that Ramon Lazaro sent. So, let's see if I can make this bigger. So as you can see, oops. I mentioned some of these potential projects with RCAC. again, is the asset management plan, mapping, line tracing. And it would provide an overview of the infrastructure condition and needs that could be further supplemented by the preliminary engineering report. So again, RCAC also emphasizes the importance of that engineering report. Revenue analysis and rate study to help understand revenue needs, considering current operating and maintenance costs and future replacement costs. And they could provide assistance with funding, applications, and strategy. And the great thing is they also provide board training, which I don't think we can ever have enough of that. There's always something to learn. And we so appreciate Bill being a mentor for us in this area as well. So RCAC did have just some basic financial documentation they wanted to see so they could start an assessment, and I gave Lisa that list. But we need to decide what are your thoughts, feedback on the thoughts of RCAC coming in to help. Bob?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, just having a third party to come in and help assess and help guide the board, guide me, and guide the public would be helpful. You know, they bring expertise to the table that we don't necessarily have. So I think it would be good.
Melina?
I like it.
You,
Did I hear you say there was no cost to the district?
no cost to the district. Let's emphasize that. It's and I have just found them to be so helpful, and the information they've provided has been.
Well, I think we can never have enough information, so I'm all for this outfit.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes, and we were trying to get this, a little ways back. And so
That was before we were on the board.
Yeah,
so
you established that relationship with them, though, but they have been very excellent in providing information and, very attentive. And, yeah, this is help that's available to disadvantaged communities like ours that we should take advantage of. Absolutely.
Anybody? I'll make a motion that we accept RCAC's offer to provide these free services to Black Canyon City Water Improvement District. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous vote to proceed with RCAC as a resource as we work to make upgrades and improvements. I think the digitizing of maps got me.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Agenda item 11, streamline. So the website is the hub of the water district communicating information to the district. We can have well levels. There is so much information we can provide on the website that is not there at present. And so we've been looking at upgrading the website and being able to provide information that the owner users should know. And there's also software. And Bob, I think you said that this would be helpful for you. It included notifying owner users, or you being able to post on the website. You want to?
Yeah, one of the issues we run into when we have a line break is being able to communicate with the public. I don't have, when these occur after hours, I don't have a list of phone numbers that I can call and go, hey, we got a water outage here, we got a crew on site, should be a couple of hours. So in lieu of that, I just get phone calls coming in. So whenever we get a water main break, I can end up having 10 to 20 phone calls. And it just, again, it's that triage mode. We're running this district with a high level of anxiety. because, what broke now? What, who do we have to deal with? And, the customers for the most part have been really patient.
You mean you don't check the Facebook page to see whose water is out? That's the go-to method.
Yeah, it's so, just being able to notify the customers would be awesome. If they could just get a text, we could go in and go, okay, these 15 customers are going to be out of water, send them a text. Hey, the crew is on site, we anticipate 3 hours before the service should be back online. It will be helpful.
And also with this new website now, Enhance, we've had the ability to have online bill pay since we've had Enhance, and we've had Enhance for a really long time. But it is having online bill pay with the website. I think the owner users have been asking for that for a very long time, and I think if this is something that we could provide, that would be great for them. And so with Streamline, who Lisa and I both met at the Special District Alliance kickoff meeting, they were there, and they are ADA compliant. Their setup is 500, which is that's their setup fee, and then it's $200 to $300 a month based on the needs of the district. We're only talking about one today. There are other vendors who we'll talk about next week, but what were your thoughts on Streamline?
I think they offer a good service. They are tailored to special districts like ours. They might be a little pricey, actually.
Yeah.
I've looked at some of the other things out there, and so I think maybe some other things could be considered.
Okay.
But we definitely, absolutely, we have a website right now that nobody can touch. Nobody can touch it because it's set up in a way that you need to know how this thing was put together. You need to know how to do these FTP upload files and transfer files and things, and you can't even keep it compliant as far as like putting the minutes properly in time. And if you look at it right now where it got left, the last minutes is from September. It's I wanted to try to be able to bring it up to date a little bit, and I went into it a little bit, and it's too much. I can't do that. It's beyond me. And I have built a website with, and actually operated, a store online. This is just, it's where you need to know code. You need to, there's a lot you need to know. And boy, I got to hand it to, the webmaster who, ran that thing before, because it's complicated. But, with these, with Streamline here, Lisa would be able to make if she needs to do things on that website, if she needs to, put out a call, you can send out mass text that will go to everybody. You can say, here's a problem in our system right now. And, that would be so helpful to you and Bob. Mm-hmm. It would keep, a lot of pressure off you guys.
And just to the customers. It's just
yeah,
providing service. We have a line break. It just
Right,
texts them, hey,
absolutely.
this is what's going on in your system.
Right.
And the
Yeah,
customers have wanted the ability to pay online, and we'll bring them to the website and make them more aware of what the district has, what it just more aware of it altogether.
Right.
But it would put it in a package that would be more compliant for user friendly for everyone, not just
Right.
one person.
Yeah.
So that would make it more.
Yes,
more
and also there's ADA compliance that, the new laws all the time and everything else. And, so there's ADA compliance. And so Streamline and, some of these other companies, they deal with making sure that your website is ADA compliant, kind of so that you don't, you can get sued or, But that's,
Melina, how do you feel about upgrading or changing the website?
The website needs changing. The website is horrible. I said that since the first day I saw it.
tiny text.
Yeah, you can't read
Tiny
it. It's
text.
impossible to read. And there's nothing to do. You can't do anything from it. So I'm all about upgrading the webpage. However, I don't know that $300 a month is justified. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would pay it. I can afford to pay it. And if I really, really wanted it, I would pay for it. I don't really want it. But it needs to happen.
They're all really great points. So I too agree that Streamline could be a bit pricey, and perhaps we should. There are some other people out there that we can talk to, and so we'll continue the website discussion and all of the functions that go with the website at the next meeting. Bill, do we need to vote to table the Streamline?
You have two choices. You can vote to table it, which means it automatically appears on your next meeting agenda, or you can simply, as board chair, declare that it's going to be essentially deferred until a later date. And then it'll be up to you to decide which agenda to place it on. So you can defer it, that's your decision, or you can ask for a motion to table, which means a vote has to be taken.
Okay, I'm totally okay with deferring it. I think that there are some other great options out there that won't cost $300 a month and provide similar services.
Yeah.
Okay, that was great. So the new website is going to be discussed further at the next meeting. So agenda item number 11, a really, really important agenda item. I don't know how to pronounce Natalie's last name. Is it Galgano?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So Lisa and I also met Natalie Galgano Pinkley at the Special District Alliance kickoff. She is a CPA with Municipal Accounts and Consulting. And prior to becoming a CPA, she was a paralegal. So she has both the perspective from a legal standpoint and a financial standpoint, and they work only with special districts. So her qualifications are just superior. And actually, when I was at not only the special district kickoff, but the Rural Water Association conference, people were standing up and just commenting on the great work that she has done for them. I mean, really small districts that didn't have a lot of money, and they were just impressed and so incredibly grateful for what she brought to the table. So I'm going to show you, if this works, I'm bringing up I'm going to bring up a sample of a bookkeeping report and that she provided. I think one of the important things that we have to remember, and I don't know where I heard this, but if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We really don't have a clear picture of what our water revenue is. We don't have a good understanding of what our debts are, assets. All of it's kind of a blur. And while I appreciate the work the former board and Sarah did, the reports, for me, when I looked at some of these financial reports, it just made me scratch my head. I didn't totally understand the format, the outline, and I felt like some things were missing. And so we need to do a better job of measuring what's happening in the district. So if you look at this sample report from Natalie, I actually, when she was presenting, I think I took pictures I tried to take pictures of all of her slides because I was just astounded at, are you kidding? You can actually put that information in an accounting report and let the owner users get a look at it. So this is a slide of the monthly financial summary and general operating fund. And if you see, there's like this graph, and it can show where your finances are fluctuating, where the revenue is going down. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that happening? But this graph allows you to ask that question. Why is that happening? Where do we need to look to see where we might be losing money? Or balancing income and output is really important. And this shows operating fund reserve coverage ratio. This is so important. And right now, we have nothing similar to look at that would provide this information to see how we stand and to see if there is a pattern and to see when we're up and when we're down. So I think that's amazing. And then you have your disbursements and total receipts. And as you can see, they're outlined specifically. They're named amounts. So this is easy to read and it's clear to understand where this money is going. So I might be going, and so here's water revenue. And this is helpful to understand, again, trends in water usage. And so much more. Sales tax revenue. So everything is broken down in detail so that we know exactly where every dollar is going. And being a fan of Dave Ramsey, that is pretty important. So, and then it also shows what you budgeted for. Right now, and we now need to begin creating a budget for 25-26. But when you create a budget, we never really know, are we in budget? Are we out of budget? Or are we spending too much money, too little? So this is incredible. It helps keep you on track budget-wise. And if you see that you're spending too much money, you can say, well, we need to cut back. Where can we cut back? And then WIFA loans and grants, those require specific accounting methods. There are requirements that you have to follow, or you can be penalized. Or with WIFA, if you break any of their rules, you could lose the forgiveness. So grants and WIFA loans, they need that extra, they need that eye of an expert, just so we stay in compliance with them. So that was just an example. And so now let's look at the services that she can provide. So she can reconcile, and it doesn't mean, these are the services that she provides. It doesn't mean that she has to provide all of them. We pick and choose those services that we need, and she works with us on that. And in her price, she gives a price range, but if we don't use that service, then we're not charged for it. And so I think it's very flexible, realistic, and it is going to cost money. But we're making an investment into the financial health of the district. So we need to look at it as an expense versus, as an investment versus expense, really. So she can prepare the monthly financial reports, assist with annual items such as budgets, audits, and reviews, to review of the financial records for the fiscal year so far. And so Lisa would continue managing all of the water billing activity and her responsibilities. And Natalie would just serve as Lisa. What would it mean to you? How would it help you?
Well, I think that once I did see Natalie and what she had to offer, it was imperative that the district did have somebody of her nature because we are a special district. There are certain laws and certain criteria that we have to meet. And if that information comes from the accounting, it comes from the revenue. It comes from the revenue and the operating expenses. And if those aren't in compliance or are not, there's not a full picture of those, then you don't have the power that you need to continue and to be an operating system, to get operations to the place where they want to be. And also the owner users, just, it's a more functional system. It's a more functional way of doing business. And this is a business. It is a very good business, and it's a good opportunity for the owner users to have somebody of that nature overseeing. There should always be dual accountability, and I think for me, that is something that I wanted from the start, to have somebody overseeing the accounting side, because I want that. I want to be able to have that transparency. And not that, like you said, anything but from before, but as far as what concerns me, that was imperative for me to have for the district.
And what I've noticed is
She's
that
amazing.
before, people were paying for things on their credit cards, or annual subscriptions were on a credit card. In fact, they sent checks for a BMO account to a former board member who's now deceased. So there's like a lot of things that we don't know, and having Natalie's direction to get that aligned would be great. What do you think, Melina?
I'm all for somebody else to do the math. But depending on, what it costs. So.
Okay, so I want to emphasize an estimated annual budget of, and keyword, approximately $15,000 to $20,000, which is $1,250 to $1,666 a month, depending on the activity. It includes estimated time for budget and audit work as well. And they're very sensitive to the fact that the district uses public tax monies, so they will bill accurately for their time spent and delegate the projects within their office so that things are done efficiently, yes.
So I did vet Natalie under the last administration, and I was going to pay her out of my contract.
Wow.
And being because the responsibility that you have as office management to the owner users, but I was denied. So that's why, and then you had already known her from previous, and you were in agreement for that as well. So
I agree that she is just really brilliant, and I think she does great work. So the other thing that she offered to do was to review the fiscal year to date records. So that means she would review the last which is from June to June.
June is the end of June 30 is the last day of the fiscal year.
So, and that would cost about $3,500 to $5,500. And do you feel that are you confident in your knowledge and understanding of the fiscal year budget so far?
The fiscal year budget, there is one in place for the 24-25, or the 20. I think I gave it to you.
Correct.
But like I said, having somebody with the expertise look at that and see where we're not meeting the criteria that's necessary to produce a budget that is going to cover what needs to be covered, so that these things wouldn't happen. The things that he needs and the infrastructure would not continue to deteriorate. If we were to be able to articulate where it goes, then maybe it would already be there when he needed it, or when.
Maybe we're making more money than we realize. We just don't know where it's
I just don't know, but having the right funnels directed towards it by somebody who is an expert in that. I mean, a very educated person in that area might be beneficial to the district.
Tom, what do you think?
This would also work well with RCAC, wouldn't it?
It would, yes.
But I mean, and also, I think there's going to be more of like an initial kind of upfront cost of getting things.
I think
in a,
that would be in her estimate to review the fiscal year-to-date records so that we could
Right.
look at,
it's,
accurately look at the fiscal year from June of 24 to 25. And that would also provide a benchmark. This is where we were in this fiscal year, and then we would have something to compare 25 to 26 to, and right now we can't make that comparison because we don't have that information.
right, and this is toward the end of keeping us, financially healthy
Yeah.
and being able to move forward wisely, and having, doing. We know that we're going to have to increase rates. We know that's coming. But to be able to do it responsibly and in a way that doesn't have to hurt too much, as it can be spread out over
Pull
time.
the Band-Aid off slowly.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And, we also have to comply with the new HB 2160.
That's right. Yeah.
This will also help in, our compliance with that. Now we have the audit requirement that, that's been passed. That was actually almost on our behalf by Representative Bliss, but that's new compliance that we have to deal with. And so this would be helpful. In
And
that
she
kind of thing.
she was teaching that. She did a presentation on the HB 2160. And I think the other thing is our audits, and this is something we need to look further, but I think maybe we should consider, she will do everything to get our audits, to prepare our records for audit. And with that being the case, an audit is $10,000 without those prepared documents. So perhaps we could find an auditor that would charge less for conducting an audit with all of the information handed to them, because that certainly would decrease their work. And the thing, an
Good
auditor has different responsibilities from a CPA. The auditor cannot help us create a budget or get involved in any of that because it's a conflict of interest. So the fact that none of us have ever put a budget together and the last budgets don't make sense to us, I think that's important to
Yes.
think about.
Mm-hmm. That
So,
would be helpful in that area.
so there are two things that we would have to look at. We would need to vote on. Bill, do we need to do two to vote on the estimated annual budget of 15 to 20,000, and then the separate item of doing the fiscal year to date for 3,500 to 5,000?
It's up to you. You can certainly include both in one motion if you do so artfully.
Okay, well, I'm going to listen for you to say, whoa, Elaine, you're not doing this artfully. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we sign the agreement with Natalie Galgano, and that we approve her fee, the estimated annual budget of approximately $15,000 to $20,000 annually. And with that, I would like to approve the fee for $3,500 to $5,500 to review the fiscal year-to-date records. Anyone like to second that motion?
I second the motion.
You second the motion to approve the $1,250 to $1,666 annually, and the $3,500 to $5,500 for the one-time review of fiscal year-to-date records. Is that what you're
Yes.
seconding?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor say yes or aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote passes unanimously, and we will welcome Natalie into the Black Canyon Water, onto the Black Canyon City Water Team. Okay, we're nearing the end. We're on time. Agenda item 14, that was documented twice. We've already discussed that back in another agenda item, which Lisa, I'm sure,
With
Lisa,
8,
What's that?
in agenda item 8. We're at agenda item 14, which is to discuss Northern Arizona IT for security, and we already did that, and we approved his monthly fee
Did you
for,
approve 12 also?
pardon?
12, the one for the vendor, enhance the star pay.
We were talking about NAIT. We already discussed and voted to accept
Right.
Theo's proposal for the monthly, for maintaining the IT security and the monthly fee. So now we're getting down to agenda item 15, discussion and possible action regarding alternate financing options for the district. And we are really taking a very serious and close look at this. And Bob, we appreciate your being involved and, listening and helping us as we research the possible the opportunities that we hope to find regarding finances. So would you like to speak to the WIFA loans, the partial grant, partial loan, and USDA loans and grants? And what are your thoughts on this? Because operations has the greatest needs, really.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on this funding?
Yeah, I think so. The WIFA funding is like it said up there. It's a partial grant forgiveness loan type program. The nice thing about WIFA is the money's more readily available. It's probably a 6 month, and actually I've heard it's like a 2 month to a year process, depending on how you get prioritized in their funding. So it can fit some pretty like short term, immediate needs. The USDA loan is going to take anywhere from like 1.5 to 3 years. I was talking to an engineer earlier this week, and he said there's a project that took 6 years, and so works well for long-term planning, expansion, if you want to get into that stuff. But immediate needs, we probably need something a little more local that we can work through, either WIFA or maybe ADQ comes up with some funding. It just kind of depends on the cycle that you get into. AWR has water meter funding on occasion. 4 years ago, they were giving out grants for water meters, and all that kind of stuff went away. And so it just pays to have somebody keeping an eye on that. But it also takes a board that sees the need for future or for monies to go back into capital. Keep the infrastructure up to snuff and robust. And so currently, there really isn't. My understanding, there's not a lot of grant money out there unless you go straight to the USDA for grants, and it's just going to take time.
Perhaps that then is something that we should consider and apply for regarding future projects, because we know that there will always be projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that wait time is, we could use that wait time, and in 3 to 5 years or 6 years, we're going to need additional work. So that would be help prepare for the future. Did you have a chance to look at Oppenheimer and any of the?
I did not look at. I did look over the paperwork. My concern there is, it's a loan, and so if if we can plan, and we have some time, it might be better just to go to WIFA and get a loan for XYZ project. And so you just need to kind of line up the projects that you want, and then just kind of look at which one might be best for that project and the time frame involved. So.
I think it's important to kind of look at what the needs are so we can identify those projects that are urgent and there are, as a nurse, you have your ICU patients, and then you have ICU patients where you're calling in the priest. So we don't want to get to the point where we need the priest. But
Right.
what are your thoughts on that? On putting together an assessment? That's what RCAC is a part of what they do. So what are your thoughts on waiting 6 months to see what their assessment might turn out, and being able to plan with their input?
Having somebody else's input would be nice. We know that being said, we know that the arsenic systems we're living on borrowed time on those. And so, if we, and we don't have funding for it, but, if we wait for 6 months to then try to go find funding, get approval, then get a design, we could be talking a couple of years.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, and so that's the problem that we run into. It's not like we just go out and we pull these, we go to Home Depot and pull these off the shelf and stick them in.
Is there anything for the budget now?
So,
Arsenic sinking fund, but that's more for like media, isn't it?
Right, but if we replace all of the systems, it comes with new media, so now we can start all over again.
Yeah.
So we could use that money for,
That's a
in my
possibility.
mind, and just one person, we could use that for, down payment or something for the arsenic.
Was there an application with WIPA for the?
I did submit an application to WIFA for arsenic treatment.
Right.
I did not see it in this funding cycle.
Right. So we're still waiting.
So we're still waiting.
Yeah.
So we're probably, but didn't get approved for this funding cycle, so it'd be next funding cycle.
okay, we have 6 minutes, and then
So, anyway.
this room is going to be taken
Right.
over by another group. So I think we need to come back to this, and we can discuss it again at the next meeting. And it might be that we need to pursue a WIFA loan for the arsenic replacement, and then wait and see what some of these, what RCAC and the preliminary engineering reports, what those outcomes are, because we absolutely don't want to have an issue with any of the arsenic tanks and then have to shut the entire system down. That would be, that wouldn't be good. So we'll come back to that at the next meeting, and then we're at.
Could I just clarify what Bob said?
Sure.
On the cycle, or the funding. So when are we looking at when would be the next cycle? Or
I believe next year.
so it's
So I don't.
ouch. Yes.
So we will discuss
We can discuss it.
alternatives and where might we find some funding that we could get sooner than later and get started. And so we're going to put that on the agenda for next week as well. So we're at agenda item 16, which is call to the public, and we've got 5 minutes left. Anybody?
So I have a lot of questions, and I think that, well, first of all, it's really unfortunate that I understand you guys are a new board and everything like that, but one of the issues that we had with the other board and the reason that there's so much support for you guys is public involvement, and, a few minutes isn't going to work. And then the other piece of it is I have a lot of questions about these expenses, because one of the other things also, that we've been dealing with as owner users is lack of understanding, lack of information concerning the whole financial piece, where money is going, where money is, and those kinds of things. And there were a lot of expense items that have been addressed. You know, there's some agreements that you all made, and that's your prerogative, but I guess I have a difficulty understanding if you were coming in to, you know, do things differently than, you know, we've got one person on here, Natalie, which I think that's, you know, sounds like she's great, but we're paying you to do something, and then you volunteered as treasurer, you know, the treasurer, whatever, and then now we're going to pay somebody else. And I say we, meaning the owner users, because that's where the money's going to come from, somebody else to oversee all of that. There was no discussion about another person, vetting another person, no discussion about maybe looking at it from the standpoint of perhaps training, you know, so that it's something that could be taken on, you know, by us versus, you know, money going out, you know, to somebody else. I'm glad you brought up the website, because there's no way, I don't know how to communicate with you guys with, you know, like I have a whole list of concerns just, you know, from this meeting as to how I was looking for really like a difference from what we have had. And I know you guys are trying, and I know we've got a lot of issues. I was on a call with you, Tom, and the WIFA group, and they said in that meeting, I mean, I have the notes at home, there's grant money, people just aren't asking for it. Yet we're sitting here talking about a loan, which is something else that's going to be money coming out of our pockets. And I mean, we just had a rate increase. People in this town don't have a lot of money. You know, this is not a town with a lot of money. And so we do need, I mean, our water system is just in disrepair. There's no, you know, and we all know that we need to have that upgraded or redone, but coming up with ways that continue to increase rates for the owner users. I think if there's going to really be accountability back to the owner users, we need to feel like you've really looked at, like, is this the right company to do it? We've looked at this company, and this company. I mean, at this point, as owner users, we haven't seen minutes approved from the last two meetings. We have the whole financial condition of our water department is like
Excuse me, I need to interrupt you, but we only have, and that's why.
So how can I reach you all to express my concerns?
Chair at BCCWID.
.org, and if you
What
could
is
just
it?
put
I'm
it
sorry.
chair at BCCWID.org. If you could send me like a Word document and just itemize your concerns. This was our first meeting, and the goal of the meeting was to get the resources we need to identify and answer all the questions you just asked. We can't do it. We cannot answer all of the questions you just asked because we just came on board.
Right.
Lisa has accounting experience, but the board never had a CPA person in the office or even checking the financial documents that were being produced by the previous board. So having Lisa, who does accounting in conjunction with a bookkeeper who is a CPA, that's a totally different frame of reference and a totally different perspective that we need. Her fees, we're not marrying her. We're just going to use her resources for as long as we need to get the situation so that it is transparent and so that we all know what's going on, because I'm in the same boat. Everybody on this board is in the same boat, and we have the same questions as you, which is why we volunteered and have put a lot of sweat and time in looking at resources even before we were on the board.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Elaine.
No.
I'm just, you know, it's the first meeting, we're starting out, and it's starting out with money here, money here, money here. And I get it, we have to get things in order, but it's pretty scary you know.
Well,
to hear,
that's
to hear
because this is the first meeting. There are more to come. And as I said in the PowerPoint and verbally, our priority is to look for grant money. That is a priority. And we are looking at grant writers who specialize in helping special districts. So that hunt is not over. But as Bob pointed out, those arsenic tanks may not be able to wait for a grant.
So I heard the same thing. I applied for that WIFA grant.
Did you?
It's not a grant. You have to meet certain criteria to get a grant, and it's all based off of points. We applied for it, we got a 40% grant, and then the rest was gonna be 60% of the loan. Or 60% was gonna be a loan. So, but I was talking to this engineer, and he goes, oh, we just got a grant for 100% forgiveness, or a grant, for another district. Well, the criteria must have been different, because they had all these points, and depending on the criteria and your points that you got, that was your forgiveness. And based on what we were looking for, and this was for the transite line replacement.
I feel your pain. I do. And we have the same questions. And what we're trying to do now is get the support we need to be able to answer them and knowledgeably design a strategy that will help us move forward. And that's not happened before.
Will we have the money somewhere in these?
That's what Natalie is
accounts?
going to do. We
Well,
can't.
I mean, we have to pay her. There's
No, but
money
in order
available
to get
do
a
that?
financial report that's necessary to acquire those loans, you have to have good financial backup to do that.
Right.
I'm just
Exactly.
talking
Do we
about
have-
being able to pay
Yeah, do we have the money to
Natalie.
pay
Do we have
her?
the money to pay Natalie?
Yes, we
we have
do.
the money to do?
I think the last one we got was what, a 7% increase? And it was just a $7 a month.
Only $1 went into anything to improve the district, but it was important that Bob was able to get the $6 so that he could continue performing the operations work that needs to be
No,
done.
I get that. I'm just saying that, we want to see something different.
Well, I think it's quite different that we're only looking at doing what needs to be done now and looking at the money for that. The other part is we're waiting to get these experts together, RCAC, to assess the entire district. And then we can look at how much it's going to cost to do each project. And then we're going to have that bottom line number. This is how much money it's going to cost the district to do this work. We're not going to go out and start spending money to do that work until we know what it's going to cost and we have a really accurate picture of our financial health. Does that make you feel better?
Yes.
What was your name?
Oh, well, so
We didn't
probably,
take roll call for the public.
you probably have me as Mary Brooks. It's Mary Irene Brooks. I go by Irene Brooks. But yeah, our bill is in Mary and Thomas Brooks.
We are not going to go on a money spending spree. That would defeat the point. But we do need to have an accurate assessment of the work that needs to be done and how much it's going to cost. The only project that we would need to look at right away might be the arsenic tanks because that is a critical need for the district. Without it, we have no water. And it's not our fault that they're 20 years old and that we're left to figure out how to replace them.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
this is Bill.
yes.
Don't mean to interrupt, but I noticed on your PowerPoint, you're trying to limit your call to the public to 3 minutes apiece.
I know, and we did, and we went over so nobody else can, anybody else?
Next meeting.
Yes, next meeting,
Next meeting
Greg.
when we got the time.
Thank you, Greg. Cindy?
I would just ask that when you mention things like ADA, you explain what that means.
Next meeting?
ADA.
ADA.
ADA, what is that?
I'm sorry, Americans with Disabilities Act.
Thank you.
And so it has to do with, yes, I'm sorry, I did,
I just need the acronym,
Yes.
I need the acronyms explained to me.
yes. And
Fine.
Okay, we're 5 minutes
sorry,
over.
Beth.
We had a lot to cover. We got a lot done. We have people that we can bring in to join the team that are really going to help us move forward in the direction that you would want to see us going, as well as
Yeah,
us.
I'll chair at bcc.wid.org.
And just send it to me, and I'll be happy to look at them and get back to you. And you can come to the next meeting and
I've been listening to all the meetings, last
Okay,
year.
great, Bill. So the next meeting is January 28th, correct?
Yes, I intend to attend in person.
Bill will be here in person, so then he can smack me upside. No. Anything else that we need to do, and I want to thank you so much for being here to make us feel more secure.
No, you're all good. The law does not require a motion to adjourn. The board chairman can simply declare the meeting adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much, Bill, and I know we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
I think you need a gavel.
Uh-oh,
Are we
Judge Judy.
Are we able to speak like for them, or
Do you want to turn this off,
Well,
the video off?
I think for her questions, it needs to be like public.
I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and stop the recording because the meeting's over. So.
Yeah, I just want you guys to know, I mean, I support you. I mean, I came to all your, get to
No,
know me
I
things
know.
and all of that. But
We have to figure out what we can't manage, what we can't measure. We don't know
I know
what's
you
going
guys are-
on, so we have to
I know.
figure that out. We can't just throw a dart into the darkness and go, okay, we'll start here.
well, sometimes I don't, I have to have things kind
It
of
was,
explained
you know,
to me
they
like
look
this
this way
instead
and-
of like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like we go through.
We just had so much to talk about, and there were things we absolutely, so the next meeting won't have 16 darn
If
agenda
there's any
items.
issue with that email address, because again, it deals with the old website,
Is it gonna go
and
to
the direct,
Dave Moore?
the
You
direct on
can
that.
do office at BCCWID, and I will forward everything to you.
No, right now, I did the settings, forwarding for the email, so Dave Moore no longer receives email, and the forwarding is to Elaine at her email address. If there is an issue with that, then I would recommend calling Lisa,
You can
and
do
Lisa will
office
put
at
you in touch directly with Elaine.
BCCWID office, and it goes right to me, and anything that I get that pertains to them, I send to her, and then
Right.
she sends to them.
And yes, because Elaine she will help you to, understand things as best that she can. And, I know it's scary, it's like, oh, yes, Ken, can you hit that? Well, I'll get it, yeah, I better,
Hit the finish button.
yeah, I have to do a save thing.
I just
too
don't
on
wanna
there.
walk out
But,
of here with you guys thinking I don't support you.
I don't want to hit the wrong button.
That's a good thing, and it is good to be able to have that.
Yeah, thanks.